potentially hit 300 NRL games next season, so it gives them a chance to do that, this new deal. And they've not been, they've not lacked in contribution to the West Tigers' effort this season, particularly Benji in the early part of the season. So I think they'll still get some good mileage out of those two guys. Okay.
If not, they can always go and sit on the scoreboard.
France coach Aurélien Cologny, I'm butchering names today, aren't I? Aurélien Cologny has named a 28-man training squad for their internationals this autumn. I didn't realise how many games they're going to play. I'm quite impressed. They're going to play Serbia and Belgrade on October the 6th, but before taking on England at the Leigh Sports Village on October the 27th. And then they face Ireland, Scotland and Wales on consecutive weekends before hosting New Zealand on November the 17th after the Kiwis have finished their autumn series against England. And
outside of a World Cup, that must be one of the most comprehensive international programmes for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's built up the right way as well, isn't it? Like a trial game, then a game that is probably going to be squad players playing each other, the England game. It's probably not going to be first choices. It's going to be people who need game time. And then they're cracking into the meat of their fixtures, which is that European kind of nations kind of comp that's going on, and then finishing it off with kind of a celebration game. The Kiwis coming to town, so hopefully that can get them a good crowd and kind of build on the momentum that we've seen from the Catalan Dragons winning the Challenge Cup and that sort of stuff. The squad in full is Lucas Albert, Jason Battieri, Julian Busquet, Remy Casti, Alric Acosta, Ben Garcia, Tony Gigo, Mikel Gudemond and Ben Julien from the Catalans, Bastien Adair, who he's a player I like, William Bartow, Clement Boyer, Bastien Canet, Rhys Curran, Paul Marchon, Gavin Marguerite, Anthony Marion, Tony Morel, Justin Sangare, all from Toulouse, so more from Toulouse than Catalan there. Morgan Escaré and Romain Navarrete from the Wigan Warriors. Theo Farge from St Helens. Ilias Bergal from Leigh Centurions. I think he's a class winger.
He's good.
Bastien Escamilla from AS Carcassonne. Valentin Yeser, Thomas Lasvesnes from Limoux and Joris Bissière from Avignon. Then finally William Usti from Albi. Tell you the one name that jumps out from me not on that list.
See, it's the same one as I've got. Yep, go for it.
Elwar Pelissier.
Yes, yeah, that was exactly who I thought.
He's playing all right as well. I'd say he's playing better than Alric Acosta, but
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Interesting call there. We'll see if that switches around. Obviously, there's a while before their first game.
I was going to say there's injuries or retirements to happen before then, no doubt.
Yes, but quite a decent looking squad, plus giving a lot of chance for the championship level players to get some exposure around people who now are established players at the top level. So that will be interesting to see. You've got another story that kind of revolves around the European game at the moment for us, Tim.
Yeah, one of the men behind the ambitious Red Star Belgrade Rugby League club has been appointed as an independent director of the Rugby League European Federation. Colin Kellyweg, a civil engineer, is an experienced director of family companies in Australia and Serbia and is the main financier behind the Serbian club, as well as the specialist sports online streaming company. He replaces the outgoing Baloji Stolijakovic, another independent director who has joined the... New sentence. Another independent director has also joined the RLEF board, former British Olympic Association lawyer Maddy Chowdhury.
Do you know who Colin Clayweg's streaming company is?
I don't know. But they're specialist. The word specialist streaming company just sounds like it's a code name that appears on your credit card statement, doesn't it?
Yeah, KCTT is his civil engineering company that I've stumbled across. I can't find the other bits, unfortunately, when I robbed this off of Love Rugby League, our great sponsors of the preview section. I didn't bother searching them up anymore at the time, but Red Star Belgrade are an interesting story, aren't they? Because we didn't talk. I can't remember if we mentioned it last week's show or not.
I think it was probably Tuesday it all came out. I think possibly.
But they are going to be. Well, they are petitioning. To be in next year's Challenge
Challenge
Cup,
Cup.
they're also rumoured to be looking at trying to buy one of the vacant licences that the aforementioned All Golds and Oxford have left lying around on the floor for League One. So certainly ambitious.
And given that the New York project seems to have gone very quiet recently, and along with the news of more sports not paying the money for the Denver test, I wonder if they're in quite a good position if they can get the right package and infrastructure together to prove that they could well enter it. And I'd be all for it. Fancy a away day to Belgrade? That'd be fun.
I'd certainly be wanting them in the Challenge Cup first to see, it gives a test, doesn't it? It gives a test for the infrastructure there and that sort of stuff. But
yeah, and I think it's important they host some games as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So because they can get experience of teams coming over, what they need. And I know going out of Oxford to Toronto, they hadn't got that infrastructure they'd never hosted a game or hosted a touring side, so we were having to teach them about what we wanted and how things would run on a game day. They didn't even have seats in the press box when we went there. So a lot of that, if they can learn that in a competition like the Challenge Cup first, that'd be brilliant.
And of course they've got the French side going and visiting Belgrade as well, so that's a chance for them to show what level of interest there is there and that sort of stuff. So it's good.
They've just had the under-19 tournament as well, haven't they?
Yeah, so it's good that Serbia are kind of there's a momentum building elsewhere in Europe around the sport, which is a positive amongst a sea of negativity in rugby league. Okay.
What structure they'll come into, nobody knows, but well, there we go.
We know that we sort of know the league. Oh no, we don't know the League One structure for this season.
No, exactly. At least one team might get promoted, possibly somewhere. Others to be decided. Who knows? I think it is bad, and I think I said this last week a couple of times to a couple of people as well. So apologies if you already heard this. But given you've got two sides in Whitehaven. In League One and then Rochdale in the Championship that have both made coaching decisions on the back of either getting relegated or not going to get promoted. They've made that decision. They've terminated the guy's employment at the end of the season. For them to possibly have a possibility of getting into the league after getting into the Championship after all, that's terrible, and we shouldn't have allowed that to be even remotely discussed.
Well, I think Alan Kilshaw prompted the exit from Rochdale, but yes, rather than the other way around. But yes, I think that will be linked to.
But would they have made that decision at this point, and if that wasn't going to be a possibility? That having to cut themselves into that next
we'll
next
get to the
tier down.
results, but even if it changes, it's looking dicey for Rochdale now. Whereas for Whitehaven, if the structure changed, that does give them a chance of promotion, which they would have been very much on the outer of, as things sounds. But Whitehaven's a financial thing as well, isn't it? So it's not ideal, is it? I think the problem is that level of the game. Really, there's no money in it. There's if there was a change like that in any sort of sport at that level of the game, would it be as significant if that sport in question didn't only have 3 professional leagues and didn't dedicate so much coverage? Because there is quite a lot of coverage for League One. Not only now are we getting games streamed, which is fantastic, credit where it's due, and Dave Parkinson did a really good job on the commentary, carrying that commentary on his own. Sometimes it did feel like he was having a conversation with himself for the Workington versus York game, but I think he had to do that. He had to carry that commentary on his own. He did a fantastic job. He was very informative as well in what he did. So we've got that. That's a good thing. We've got the League One, Betfred League One show is another show out there. Coventry Bears is one of only a couple of clubs in Super League that have their own dedicated fan podcast. Sorry, in the rugby league structure that have their own dedicated fan podcast. There's the Wigan one and there's the Salford one, but outside of that, is there any?
Toronto.
I'm not even sure that the Wolfcast operates. I've not seen a new episode.
I know they've been arguing with people on Twitter and saying some mildly sexist things, but I don't know if they're still producing podcasts.
I'm not sure that they have produced a podcast for a while, if I'm honest. But yeah, anyway, there is some good stuff down there. But if we didn't cover it to the extent it was, would this matter? What we're really looking at is getting the game in a better shape. Would the game be in a better shape with both Bradford and York in the Championship next year? I think is the question that we need to be looking at, and then look at the long-term picture. How do we make sure the right clubs stay in the right level of the competition? How do we make sure when they're not in the quote-unquote right level, how do we stop them? How do we stop the leagues from falling apart from having or not having certain teams within them? They're the bigger questions that need to be asked. But it does seem a bit farcical that at this stage we're potentially announcing a shift around in how you qualify from the tournaments you've been competing in all year. I don't think it really necessarily changes the excitement for the playoff race in the League One, though, does it? It just changes the excitement.
No, it
of
just
the
changes.
Actual promotion
It just changes
at the very top,
and it does give that extra spot as well, because it brings it down one, so it does make it slightly more interesting.
I'm not sure how we got from Red Star Belgrade.
Streaming. We started off on streaming, I think.
Well, there'll be more streaming chat
We're there somewhere.
later on, so it'll be interesting to find out who Colin Clayweg, who his company is, and what they can bring to the European Rugby League Federation as a result of that. Okay, Super League have announced that Blossoms will headline the entertainment at the 2018 Grand Final. The Stockport-based band will perform at the biggest night in Super League and treat the crowd to a selection of their greatest hits, such as Charlemagne. There's a reason.
That's the one.
Everyone knows Charlemagne, yeah, I think that's...
yeah.
If you don't know it, you'll hear it at the end of the show today and realise you do know it. There's a reason why, in brackets, I never returned your calls, and I can't stand it. I think those last two are singles off the new album, which has sold quite well this year. So I think for sort of younger people, it's a really good announcement. I know people maybe in the late 30s and beyond might not have heard of them. Emma's got...
I was going to say we need another faded indie band. Surely we need the Blue Tones to come out and do it.
I think we've got the opposite of a faded indie band. I think we've got an indie band that aspires to become a faded indie band. They're very much indie pop, aren't they? They sound like they could have come out in 1994 and been really well placed alongside bands like James, like the Charlatans, like the people we've had. Like the people we've had at the grand final in the last over the last few seasons, but I think it's a good one. Emma really likes them. She's got one of their albums definitely. I think she probably listens to the other stuff through Spotify more now than the traditional methods. But yeah, what do you reckon to Blossoms?
I quite like them. Yeah, my sister
better
bought
than
me
that
the
shite
album.
you recommended the other time you were on.
Oh, do you mean? Well, to be fair, I've had abuse over pretty much every song I've ever recommended on this podcast, so doesn't really narrow it down. I even get abuse about some of the music I play through another podcast. So the Bare Necessities had a couple of digs a couple of weeks ago as well.
Well,
so,
when you weren't there to do the ground announcement at the midweek game, I understand that the music took a much more mid-90s indie slant to it.
To be fair, it would have been a bit more rocky than, because I tend to be a bit more I tend to be quite indie bent in the way but I mix it in with some current pop stuff as well. So the idea being there's something for everyone.
I just think like my internet history is going to have that bloody Paddington on it, and I'm going to get recommendations and ads for stuff based on that shite. It just doesn't sit well, Tim.
Well, we did get some feedback on this just this morning, 5 o'clock in the was it yesterday? 5 o'clock in the morning. Let me find the tweet. Let's just bring it up. Hang on a second. Let's scroll back through. Yeah, Mark Butler, 1978 said that after all these weeks, it's still my fault atting me and also alcohol. So there we go. Yeah. I'm kind of proud of that I've had a legacy. I've put it in someone's head, so I stuck it somewhere.
Yes, but it's the kind of thing that. Have you ever seen the film Pi? The Darren Aronofsky film Pi, where basically someone got something so ingrained in his head that he thought a drill might be an option to get it out.
Okay.
Is that in that film?
I've not seen. I've not seen it.
Anyway, someone will correct me. But there you go. And finally, Tim, do you want to do the and finally?
Yeah, Warrington Wolves have been crowned the first World Club champions at Physical Disability Rugby League (PDRL). The Wire side, which included comedian and last leg presenter Adam Hills and Joey Johns. Let's not blow over.
Adam Hills presented the Challenge Cup, so surely he's ahead of of John's in the pecking order now.
Of Channel 9's